What up?
Yo,
You ready for some story time?
ready for bedtime stories with Trevor.
All right. So today I wanted to talk about, let's talk about it together. The time that we both almost drowned in a river in Oregon. That was definitely a top moment of near death for me. Would you agree?
Yeah, that was a scary one.
Have you ever
Where
come
you just
have you ever come closer to dying or thinking you're going to die?
no, no, that one takes the cake, 100%.
So, yeah. I don't know. Where do we start? We were
We
we
can
were
start with the fact that we thought we were going for a mellow tube ride down a nice, calm river,
yeah,
and that was not the case.
that was not the case. We so there was a bunch of us there, and I had done this actually the day before. I think I was by myself, or I think I was with. No, I was with a couple friends the day before. So then we'd come back the next day. This is my brother on the phone, by the way. And we'd come back the next day with a bunch more people. Jordan, you had some inflatable paddle boards, right? And so
Yeah,
we had a ton of us. There was like 10 or 15 of us. And a bunch of us were on these inflated car tubes. So you can pump up a car tube like a bunch, and then you can float with them on a river. But a bunch of them on the way there had popped. So we were walking through the bushes, and a couple of different people's tubes had popped. And so there was an inflatable paddleboard. Jordan, Cody, our friend Cody, and me, three of us, were on one inflatable paddleboard going down this river.
I think you're leaving some stuff out. We got to back up here a little bit. Trevor sold this whole rafting idea as a nice, mellow afternoon festivity when we had a long day of skating and biking, and we were just going to go wind down at the river. Brought some beers, some tubes. We're wearing swim trunks, flip-flops, ready to go cruise down a river. And to get down to the river, we immediately figured out it's not quite the case. We were scaling a cliff and had to bushwhack through these trees. Like 2 or 3 of the tubes popped before we even get to the river. And then we get down there, and it's like full rapids. Like, not
It started
even-
mellow though. It wasn't full rapids. It was like there was rapids, but it wasn't.
It was moving. It wasn't a slow, wide open, mellow afternoon that we were expecting.
Yeah. So we
started out a tube down before we even got to the water.
yeah. So
Tubes down.
by the time we get to the river, this is like an hour long float down. And if you know what we're talking about, we're on the Hood River that comes down from Mount Hood down into the gorge, the actual
River, Oregon.
yeah, in Hood River, Oregon, on the Hood River, headed down from Mount Hood along the highway there. And at this point, one of the tubes had popped, so I gave my tube to somebody else, and I jumped on the inflatable paddleboard with Jordan and Cody. And so now we're floating down this river. It's mellow, like it's not really mellow, but it's mellow. And we are all floating, right? What do you remember from this part?
Yeah, I remember there were some rapid sections, there were some mellower sections, and then the whole time from when we first got in, Trevor's saying, be careful at the bottom. Towards the bottom, there's a split, and we have to stay right. We have to stay right. He kept hammering that in our mind. And so we're like, okay, we'll make sure. And then he had done it the day before, so he knew that to the left was no good. To the right, it was pretty mellow, but still bumpy. And so it comes time after the whole flow, we get down towards the end, and it comes time, Trevor's like, all right, we got to stay right. sure enough, for whatever reason, we don't make that right. This is after 45 minutes of hyping this right turn up.
I just kept saying over and over, because basically the river went in two directions. The ones to the right, there was like this steep, rapid section, but we've been fine. And then we will be fine because that's the way I went the day before. But I remember seeing if you went left, it goes down those rapids and gnarly rocks and crazy rapids, but it went and it banked into the side of the river. And the side of the river, all these trees and bushes were sticking out into the river. So basically you're looking at this massive waterfall of rapids with all of these trees and bushes and stuff sticking into the river. So you're looking at all this current pushing, you know, who knows how strong into this river, but there's logs and stuff in the water. So you're gonna go right into those logs if you go left. And so I have my GoPro on for this, and we're literally, you can see us trying to lean to the right, trying to paddle away from this section, but it was too late.
And still to this day, I don't know why we missed that right turn. We're all strong paddlers in the ocean. We know, like, we were all young. I think strong kids. We knew we should have been able to do it, but for whatever reason, the river gods took us left that day.
Yeah, I think that the current was just too strong.
Yeah, and then the next thing I know, there's just we kind of started to go faster, and then there was just this big rapid we got sucked into, and I remember just being like, oh my, this is not good. And sure enough, there were all three still on this paddleboard, and the next thing we know, we just get fully flipped over and go down into this rapid, and then we just stopped. And it was like, you're moving pretty swift through the rapids, and then just nothing.
What do you mean nothing? What do you remember from that?
I remember being really freaked out, just kind of like, okay, but first you try to get your bearings to figure out what's happening, and then once it kind of clicked, like, oh my, the three of us are all slammed up against this log at the bottom of a rapid underwater. Just exactly how you don't want to ever be.
Yeah. So what I remember from it was being pushed into this rapid, headed for the trees that are across. You could see these trees had fallen into the river, and then we all fell off the paddleboard at the same time. And so now we're kind of next to each other, and I just remember, okay, here we go. We're headed for these rapids. This is gonna suck. But I'm thinking we're gonna go down these rapids fast, but we're going for them. And half a second later, all of a sudden, I am just stomached across a log, being pushed by the force of this whole entire river downstream. And I remember being at my head, I could turn my head sideways, but I'm just stuck against this log. And I look sideways, and Jordan, my brother, is right next to me, stomached as well. And then next to him was our friend Cody, stomached as well. We had all gone full speed down this rapid, and this long, super long log was just under the surface of the water, and it had trapped us. And so we're all stuck like this. And then I remember being stuck like that and looking at Jordan and hearing him. You could barely hear, because all of our heads were stuck underwater, but with the biggest force, you could just kind of have your head above the water. But I remember seeing that his hat stayed on, and it was kind of like blocking his face, right? Wasn't your hat was kind of like blocking the water from getting into your face a little bit? It stayed on somehow.
Yeah, I was wearing this gas station bucket hat that I got, and somehow it stayed on. And the way that the brim of the hat was pushed over my face, it created this little air pocket. But it was still it was just crazy looking next to me and seeing my brother and my best friend, and we were all yelling in panic, but you couldn't really hear it.
Yeah,
it was kind of it was muzzled because of all the water.
And then
one of the craziest shocks of it was because we all had the mentality going into it oh, this is a gnarly rapid, but we got this. And then it went from we got this to just instantly the worst situation.
Yeah.
It took a minute to set in.
And then I remember our friend tubing over us, going over the top of us, trying to grab us. I guess that's what he said he tried to do. But he just literally, like, we got run over by somebody. And then I'm just still like, oh my gosh, we're about to die. This is no joke. Like, we are pinned to the bottom of a river and I can't even move, you know? And so I remember looking over, and then Cody had somehow, because he was towards the end of the log. I had it worse. Like, the worst out of all three of us was in my court. So then Jordan was next to me, and then Cody. But Cody was like kind of close to the edge, so he had wedged himself and moved himself out to the edge of the log, and then got swept kind of diagonally underneath it and went down the rapids. And so now at this point, Jordan and I are just sitting there screaming, stuck, and I'm just like, no, like there's no way this is happening. Like, I was watching us die. I was like, we're gonna die. This is how we're gonna die. We're just being pressured. Like, you can't even freaking move. But like, this is not how this is gonna end. There's no way. And I just remember looking at him screaming, and I just like instinctively saw that Cody had been swept out through the right, and I'm just screaming. I could just get my head above the water. Luckily, in a lot of these situations, if the water's rushing fast, you can't even. But we just had enough strength to. And I'm screaming at him, go to the right, like just push to the right. Given we can't even really move, and I remember getting my arm free and trying to push him to the right, just trying to push. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch him die. Like, I could die here, but I'm not watching him die. So with everything I had, I'm just pushing him out into the stream, just trying to push him. And then finally, you know, I don't know how much longer later, Jordan gets sucked under the log. So he goes underneath it. Didn't make it out to the bottom, but the pressure, the water, and we're talking like, there's like, you know, maybe not even a foot under, you know, like he just gets sucked through, and then I'm there alone, and I'm just like, okay, well, at least he made it out. My shoes get ripped off under, you know, it's so powerful. My shoes get ripped off like these, and so now I'm barefoot, just with trunks on, stuck on this log. And I just remember the last thing was trying to get my head just above the water to take one last breath, and then I'm just gonna full commit and just go for it underneath the log. And I just remember going like, and then just sucking myself to the bottom of the river and just hoping that I would make it underneath. And the thing just sucked me through. I think I cut my face in the log, just like it just ripped me out. And then now we're headed down. We all went down this like class 5 rapids. I'm not kidding you. The water was so powerful. We're going down these class 5 rapids with nothing. So stupid. No life vest. Because of course we weren't planning on going that way, or else we would have never have done that. And this is, you know, what, 6 years ago now. But we get out to the bottom, and we went through class 5 rapids with nothing. just tumbling down the rocks, thinking just I remember covering my head and just being like, okay. We made it out, and we walked. We got out of that situation. We ended up in this little like pool behind, underneath the rapids, and we're all down there just floating, like just in complete shock. And we all got out of the river and we walked. Remember that? We walked so far. We walked like 2 miles down the river, just not even.
Yeah, well, one of the things that was scary is when we were still stuck, Cody got out first, and we saw him slip under. But we didn't know, we were still underwater. We didn't know what happened. We didn't know if he got sucked under and went into another log jam. We had no idea. So that was one of the scarier parts, was when Trevor pried me out of there. But yeah, I was free from this one, but what's after? We didn't know what was after it. It could have been another one right after. So
yeah.
We didn't know if Cody even made it out. We didn't. And then really just had to take a gamble. Let's get out of this one, because
there was many. You could see all the logs below it, and also
Trevor was last, not knowing that we weren't next to him anymore, but didn't know.
Yeah, there could be more coming.
Of us, we could be stuck in another one 2 seconds down the river.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
Yeah. And I also want to dedicate this. Our friend Our friend's dad passed away in a nearby rapid 1 week after this happened in a kayak. Got stuck in the same exact log jam style situation and didn't make it out. So this video goes out to him.
And we were so thankful when we finally got to shore. We were just like, we're all hugging, like completely broke down.
Yeah, crying. We're all just sitting there on the side of the river, just bawling our eyes out.
Yeah.
I remember we got a good lunch.
Yeah, we went and got milkshakes. Remember that meal?
Yep.
And I remember we hitchhiked back up to the car because we had shuttled that laugh.
Yeah.
And we hitchhiked.
Oh,
back
that's
up.
right.
We were telling just some random guy that picked us up, like, what just happened to us. And he was like, that literally happened. People die like that on this exact section of the river every year.
Yeah, I guess
doing exactly what we just did, and that was
multiple people had died where we had just escaped from. Well, we're here to tell about it. Wild story. Thanks for telling it with me, and I'll let you go.
All right.
Well, thank you.
I'm talking about scary times.
Yep, love you.
Love you too.
Bye. Well, that's it for today. Figured I'd share that story with you. If you're doing any rafting, wear those life jackets. Watch out for log jams. Be smart. Don't do anything that seems stupid. And make good decisions to the best of your ability. Much love. We'll talk to you next time.